Welcome to Empowering You with Cynthia Fontaine, where your transformation begins. This isn't just a show, it's your invitation to unlock personal power and trust your inner wisdom. Each episode, I'll guide you to release what holds you back and reconnect with the truth already inside you. Because when you align with your intuition, everything changes. You didn't find this by accident. You're ready. Let's begin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Empowering You with me, Cynthia Fontaine. I'm so glad that you've joined me, whether this is your first time or if you have seen my other shows. I want to give a shout out to some of the people who watch me and they write into me saying that they love the show, Cecilia and Mary and Jeannie and Susan. And so thank you very much. Those are just a few. I appreciate you. We love comments, so please comment on the YouTube channel underneath the show. You can easily find that if you just search in YouTube, Empowering You with Cynthia Fontaine. You will also find many other shows available on this station when you search the YouTube for it. So I encourage you to look for the other shows online as well as on your TV if you're watching this on the local Cox network. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. And email me or let me know what shows you would like to see come on. I am going to have guests from Rhode Island coming up. And so we've got some new things in the works and things planned. So that's enough of that. Let's get started. So today I have a special guest whom some of you may know. You may have seen her on the show before, or you may have seen her show, Fun with Art with Jeannie B. So welcome, Jeannie B. How are you?
Good. Thank you, Cynthia. It's always fun to be here with you. We always have a good time.
We do always have a good time. And, you know, for those of you, if you're not familiar with Jeannie, not only is she an artist, but she is also a writer. She is an author. She is a spiritual teacher. She reads oracle cards. She does all sorts of things. She's really a pretty amazing individual. So check her out. And anyway, glad that you're here.
Thank you, Cynthia. I had a very good teacher. I still have a very good teacher.
Oh, well.
I wonder who that could be.
Well, thank you. We've been together for a long time in the woo-woo world.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the world of woo-woo. So I always start the show picking a card. And, of course, not surprised, the card that I got today was chaos and conflict. And we asked the question, what does the audience need for us to talk about and how to support you with this show? And we got chaos and conflict. So we're going to kind of wing it today and go with the flow and see where spirit takes us. And to me, this card speaks about just what's going on in the world. There's so much chaos happening, and a lot of people are overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much being thrown at us all at once, and people are having a hard time dealing with the overwhelm of so much chaos happening. And what I like about this card, if you can see it, is where this looks like a giraffe, right? But then the pieces of the coat, or it's almost like the pony is painted, are coming off and they're falling to the ground and they're also going to the heavens. And then underneath you see it's a zebra. And to me, that really speaks to that some of the things that we see aren't really what's true under the surface. And so we have to sort of take things a little bit with a grain of salt, right? And also understand that we're filtering through our own understanding and our own fears and our own lives of who we are and how we see the world, as well as that's another layer onto, what's happening. How do we interpret it and how are we seeing that? What do you think about that?
I think absolutely right. But I also think if you really look at the card and you look at the pieces that are falling, you know, we all think that chaos sometimes is bad. And sometimes, yeah, it is. It's like it all falls apart. But if you look at the card and you see that some of the pieces we are meant to disperse and they go upwards. So maybe we're supposed to keep those pieces, right? Throughout the chaos, we're like, okay, maybe I want to keep that stuff. And then there's other pieces that fall away. And so with chaos, sometimes things need to be let go. And so there's that happy balance, I think. You know, without chaos, you can't have any kind of healing.
Right.
know?
Right. Because, you know, we're human, we're knuckleheads.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So how do we heal? We have to go through difficult things,
Exactly.
typically.
Yeah.
We have to go through things that cause grief and you know, things upset in our life, right?
Absolutely.
And then we have the possibility for growth and expansion because the grief peels away the outer layers of sort of who we think we are even.
Right.
And it brings us to the raw center
Absolutely.
of who we are.
And if you look at that card, after all of that is all done, there's a whole new being underneath. Right?
Yes.
And you get to experience that, and you get to have fun with that. You get to learn about it. You get to become whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times things have to disperse before you can get to that inner core of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, through a lot of work.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of work.
Absolutely.
You know? And
it's not done in one day. And I think that a lot of time we're in that age of where people, it has to be done right away.
right.
You know, and so I think it takes time
Right.
to peel
right.
layers off and stuff. And,
Right.
and we do it, right? Little by
Right.
little.
Right. And you know, I find it really interesting, and I've been sort of tracking this for a while now, where, you know, I go to a lot of classes, a lot of seminars. I'm into a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And no matter whether it's something on oracle cards, or it's something on building a business, or it's something about mindset, personal development, or even AI, 95% of the audience, the people who are in these workshops, are women over 45.
Yeah.
And so I think women, you know, like you and
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
especially, are really honed or keen to figuring life out, knowing that we aren't who our parents told us
No.
we were. We aren't who society told us we
Yeah.
were. What we are in the world is not who we are.
No.
And people often will go to a weekend workshop or
Yeah.
something, and then the change doesn't last, and they don't understand why.
Right.
You know, but we know why.
Well, exactly. You know,
Because
you know, it's a start. It's
Right.
a start, and,
Right.
and it takes courage.
yes,
It takes courage to change.
yes,
You know, a lot of things we want to change, but we don't have the, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's a lot. You have
Right.
to change your whole lifestyle sometimes.
Right.
Or sometimes just one thing.
right,
You know, will give you that outlet to look at something differently.
Right.
And so I think that's what it's all about. Right now, people are worried about their finances. There's so much going on. I
Right.
went for milk the other day, and $100 later, I came out of the store, and I'm like, my goodness, what did I buy? I had
Yeah.
one bag.
One bag.
One
Yeah.
bag. And I was like, so, you know, I think prosperity and finances, you know, that has a lot to do with it. And it holds people in a place where they're scared,
right.
you know?
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute, right? Because we've both done a lot of work around money
Yeah.
and beliefs and
Yeah.
the law of attraction and abundance and
Right.
things like that. And yes, things are getting more expensive, and people
Yeah.
are really feeling it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing we can do about that. But what can we change?
Right.
What piece do we have the ability to change? And that piece is to go within, right, and to learn about what your ceiling is, right?
Yep.
Because we all have a money ceiling.
Absolutely.
And that money ceiling comes from our families.
Yeah.
Because when we grow up in a certain family, certain things are expected.
Yeah.
And if you go above that money ceiling, then in an unconscious way, you are disrespecting your family.
Right. Without
Right.
even knowing it.
Without even knowing it.
You know something's off and you don't understand what it is, and sometimes it's like, I was taught that. But that's
Right.
not how it is.
Right.
You know, and I think that's the key, that the piece that people have to figure out is what they believe,
Right.
right? What their belief system has become, not what they brought in
Right.
through family or through whatever. You have to understand what it is that you, where your ceiling is, and what your relationship is to prosperity and to money.
Right.
You know, because we're taught so many different things when we're kids.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people aren't taught anything about money.
That's true.
When
That is
we're
so
growing
true.
up, when we're kids.
Yeah.
You know, I was never taught how to balance a checkbook or any of that. I had to learn it.
Yeah.
You know, on my own as an adult.
Right. Yes.
And you know, so those things are important.
Yeah.
And at the same time, are how we vibrate with money, right? It makes a big difference. And we can make these shifts over time where we're not just suddenly,
Right.
you know, breaking the family vow, the
Right.
family money ceiling,
Yep.
where it becomes so uncomfortable that we just can't handle it. For example, people who win the lottery.
Right.
Right? Within 5 years, a very high percentage of them are then bankrupt
Yes, absolutely.
because they've hit their understanding of money,
Yeah.
and they've hit that money ceiling, that family money ceiling, right?
Yeah.
And so unless you do the work to learn about money, to understand what your sort of money vows or money ceiling is, then you'll hit that point and you'll either lose it,
Right.
you know, if you go above that, or you just won't ever make more than that.
So for the average person, I guess the thing would be, what would be a money ceiling? We're talking about money ceiling. So would the average person know what a money ceiling is?
Great question, right?
You know, so
So-
I don't know. I didn't know before.
Right,
You know,
right.
So yeah.
So a money ceiling would feel comfortable,
Right.
Right. So it would feel like a comfortable way of life, like you grew up.
Yes.
Okay. Now some people grow up in a situation where they don't have a lot, and they power through that money ceiling
Right.
because they are determined that they will not live like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so they take that energy and they say, I'm doing something completely different, and they have no problem powering through it.
Right.
Most people don't power through it, and they get to the place where their life looks similar to their families, you know, where for many families it's paycheck to paycheck. They're not taught to invest or how to invest, or they don't have a tolerance for the risk of investing and so forth. And so it looks very similar if you look at your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your siblings, whatever. Everybody looks very similar on a similar plane, you know, within a range.
Right. Yes.
Within a range.
Right. Yes. Yeah, and I think that's very important to understand what you were saying earlier about being, you know, the family ceiling. But also, a lot of times, what I found is people come from that lack.
Yes.
They feel like they're lacking something because they're stuck there.
Yes.
Are they really stuck there? No, because that's what they're thinking, they're stuck.
Right.
Right? So that energy needs to shift. And how do you do that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's, you know, it's work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mindset
Absolutely. Yeah.
is one way, you know,
Right.
learning about, you know, what you are thinking and what you're internalizing and what your
Right.
what your money vibration is.
What you're holding on
What
to.
you're
from
holding
those-
on to,
Yeah, what you're
right.
holding on from those family vows that you made that, you know, when I was a kid, you know, we weren't poor, but we weren't rich.
Right.
You know, we were average. And so we were taught different ways that if you had money, you know, something was wrong with you.
Right. Yes.
You know,
yes.
because you did something wrong, or because, you know, that's how my parents were taught.
Right.
Was there something wrong with that? That's just
Right.
the way they were taught, and that was just passed down.
Right.
It wasn't meant to harm anyone.
Right.
But sometimes people will feel like that, and so it always put me in. For me personally, I always felt like I missed something, like I was missing something, or I lacked something.
Yeah.
You know, so it took a lot of years to understand I wasn't lacking anything.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so I think a lot of people, you know, those family vows were taught that, you know, it comes down to worthiness.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole, yes.
That's a
Yeah.
whole nother show, Cynthia.
That's a whole, yeah, that's a whole big topic on itself, right? And and that's a subject that, you know, I find, because I've been doing this work for a long time, and I find I see very few men show up to do this work.
Right.
Not that they're not worthy, they have worthy issues.
Right.
I think it's harder for men to kind of come to this work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, men have been, you know, portrayed for 2,000 plus years, whatever, as being the breadwinner.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
it wasn't until the 50s, actually in World War II,
Yeah.
when that shifted, and then women had to get into the workforce.
Right.
Right. And then that started shifting. So I don't know if men have less sort of a worthiness issue, or if they just don't aren't comfortable with doing the self-development work.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that.
Right.
Because
I agree with you. I think a lot of times they were deemed the breadwinners, and so they just kept that role.
right.
You know, but nowadays, like I look at my grandchildren,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful to see the women, these young women coming up with such, you know, that drive that they're going to make it themselves.
Yes.
You know, and it's
Yes.
going to be an equal partnership.
Yes.
You know, it's not you're going to make it, they're going to be equal, and I
Yes.
think that's what we need for us to develop.
Oh,
You know?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, now we've got the stars supporting us.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Because we are now fully into the age of Aquarius.
Yep.
And the age of and back to the divine feminine.
Yes.
Right. And I've
Yeah.
talked about this a little bit on other shows
Yeah.
where I did a show where I sort of went to the history
Yes.
of when women, you know, were
Yes,
in
yeah.
charge,
Yep.
and what it was like, where there were no weapons, there were no
Right.
wars,
Yep.
and then when the patriarch took over, and we love you guys, we,
Yeah.
you know,
But-
we do love you, and you know, but once they came in charge, then there were weapons, then there were wars, and there's been ever since,
Yeah.
because our brains are wired in a different way.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so we're wired where we hear something, and it goes right to the heart. The process where men hear something and they have to do something about
I
it.
think it goes out the other ear sometimes. Though.
Well, that too.
It all depends, right?
Well, that too. Yeah, it all depends. It all depends.
But
really.
yes, I think with the men, you're absolutely right. When they hear something, they got to fix it
Right.
because that was always their role.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of times what's happening now is the women can come in and they can fix it.
Right. Remember the old commercial?
Yeah.
I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in the pan.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you know, the whole world is changing, and I think that's what the card was, you know, talking about.
Right.
There's a lot of chaos, right?
Yes,
There's a lot of conflict, but when
Yes.
all of that settles, some of it will keep, some of it will let go.
Exactly.
You know, and then we get to decide.
Exactly.
Because that's what it's all about. We get choices.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, as frightening as the world is right now, and, you know, we live in a state that, thankfully,
Yeah.
we don't see so much of the chaos, right?
Right.
It's a pretty neutral state, I think,
Yes.
for the most part.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we've got some great people who are doing some great things for the state, you know, in
Absolutely.
DC and in the state itself. And, you know, and at the same time, even though this is a difficult period, it's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
This has been prophesized for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
Right.
years. Every Aboriginal or every nation that has indigenous
Yeah.
connection, indigenous peoples have forecast this for
Yes, for years,
for
decades.
for a long, long,
Yeah,
long time.
yeah.
And even Nostradamus talked about
Yes,
it, right?
absolutely.
You know, we just didn't know the exact timing, and now
Right.
here we are.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so we've got a ways to go with this chaos astrologically. Next year, things are going to get hot and crazy in July this year. There's going to be some key months this year where things get a little bit off the hook crazy.
I hope it's also the temperatures are going to go high.
Well, yeah, not for me. You know, I'm a winter girl. I know
I
you're
know.
a summer girl. And next year is gonna be really chaotic.
Yeah.
Right. So what do? We can prepare for this. So some of the things, and I've talked about this before on other shows. You know, grow a garden this summer. So if you're
Yep.
worried about the cost of food in the market, is it a solution? Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's a
yeah.
solution, right?
Yeah.
And it also gives you some pride in producing your own food.
Right.
For me, my gardens never turn out that well.
No, my squirrels eat everything.
No.
The squirrels, the raccoons, whatever, they I'm good.
Yeah, though I do have a good crop
Yeah.
of potatoes
Oh,
right
well, that's
now.
good.
And I've got 6 heads of broccoli working.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, so we'll see what
So,
happens.
and I think, that also gives us a sense of control for
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And a lot of times when we're going through the conflicts and the chaos, it's because we think we lost our sense of control.
Yes.
So
Yes.
doing a garden.
Yeah.
If you're worried, I think the biggest thing is not to fear. When you fear something, you hoard. You don't need to hoard.
Yes.
You need to be smart.
Yes.
If there's a certain brand, like I have cats, I have a cat left. If there's a certain brand of cat food that
Right.
your cat that's the only thing that cat's ever going to eat in the entire lifetime, then stock up on it.
Right.
So
right.
you don't fear that you're not going to be able to get it.
Right.
Because you're putting fear out into all the chaos. It makes it worse.
Right.
So you have to be conscious of, getting control in a sensible way.
Right. Because we all experience fear at some point or
Absolutely.
other.
Absolutely.
But the key is not to stay in that fear.
That's right.
Right. And then make sensible, grounded choices.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, maybe have a few extra things in the pantry.
That's right.
When you have a few extra dollars, put some extra things in the pantry.
That's right.
And because the prices of things are going to keep going up. This chaos is not going to stop tomorrow.
No.
And so we have to get really,
It's about how
sensible.
to navigate it.
How to navigate it.
You navigate it with a sense of energy that you don't fear it.
Right.
You understand it.
Right.
You understand you got to go through this.
Right.
And what can I do to make myself feel good?
Right. And, to the hoarding part, you can stock up on things.
Right, but you don't have to
Because it's a very
Yeah.
different energy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because if you just flick the energy,
Yeah.
it's just a slight flick of the energy where things go from a situation that is healthy to a situation that's unhealthy.
That's right.
And
yes.
when we cling on to things
Oh,
the
yeah.
hardest, that's when
the universe says, no, you can't have it. Sorry.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
No matter what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Right, no
Toilet
matter what
paper,
it
it
is.
doesn't matter.
Right. Oh, fun. Well, during COVID, I stocked up on toilet paper. I got a heads up.
Well, that was
So,
good.
Yeah. So I had plenty of N95 masks, and I had plenty of toilet paper because I got the word from Spirit.
Right.
Hey, stock up on these things. And but one day I had a guy doing some work at my house, and he's like, I can't find toilet paper anywhere, and I'm on my last roll. I said, hold on. So I go up in the attic, bring down some toilet paper. And so during COVID, I was handing out toilet paper.
That's so funny.
To people who didn't have toilet paper.
Yeah.
And for me, that felt good.
That's right.
Because not that, I had it and you didn't.
Right.
But I had it because I had...
And you were willing to share it.
And I was willing to share it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's an important piece right now where we have to come into community and work together, because when we are trying to do this on our own, then it never works, because life is built on community.
Absolutely.
And coming together.
Absolutely. And, observing things,
Yeah.
seeing where the needs are.
Yes.
And then, sometimes just a simple thing helps to mend other things.
Yes.
So it's a circle,
Yes.
and we have to keep going in that circle.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. We're already out of time.
Oh, okay. Well, that was fun.
Oh my God, because we could talk for hours and hours.
It's true.
And so if there were one thing, because you've been on a money journey. You started in the same place where I did, where we had, but we didn't have extra, that sort of thing.
That's right.
And then you have had a life where you have had enough and have had extra.
Yeah.
And now, but you didn't really learn about money?
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, when I first got married, when I was 19 years old, I didn't know how to write a check. I was
Right.
in the water department. We were doing something, and my husband was at one end, and I was at the other end, and I had to write a check for a certain amount, and I was stumped. And thank God this older woman said, let me teach you how to do it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's a learning process.
Yeah. But now you are.
Now
You're
I
learning
know.
about money.
Yes, absolutely.
And one quick thing I want to end on talking about that, because I think it'll serve people going in. Learn about money. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if you've got your money, and I'm not a financial advisor, so this is not financial advice, but I have learned recently about high yield savings accounts,
Yeah.
where I'm actually getting money on my money.
Absolutely.
Rather than having it in a bank where I'm getting 0.01% interest,
Exactly.
I'm getting 4% interest.
Right. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
You know, nowadays, women, we tend to go, oh, yeah. Don't be afraid. Ask the questions. It's okay.
Right. Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And so as we move forward, you know, a couple of things to keep in mind is community. Right.
Yes.
Whether it's, it doesn't matter whether it's money or if it's politics or if it's food or gardening or whatever. Build a community around you and learn as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And also, you know, don't be afraid to try something different, because we are moving into a whole paradigm, and we didn't even talk about like AI and the advances with that and how fast the world's going to change. And I saw a flying car.
Oh.
For the first time, and I thought we'd have those a long time ago.
Yeah, the Jetsons.
The Jetsons, exactly. But now we're almost there.
Almost.
Right.
We're getting there.
So don't be afraid to change, and you know, really ask questions. That's a really good point. And build community around you.
Yes.
You know, and it doesn't have to be in your town. It can be online.
Yep.
But you know, it's a good idea to build some community locally as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that way, you know, you're not afraid to ask the questions, or you know, get involved with different things and make friends, and it helps.
Absolutely.
You know, it helps through the chaos.
Yes, absolutely. Great. Yeah, truly,
Yeah.
right? And you know, and you have the art show, and things like doing art helps.
Oh, yes.
Things like doing writing helps.
Yes.
So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you know, if you just can't take it anymore, take a break from the chaos.
Yep.
Take a break from the news and the media and all of that, and then go do something that just takes your mind somewhere else.
That's right. You know, a dump journal.
Yeah.
You know, you got the journal, sometimes you don't even know what you're mad about, and you just keep writing and writing and writing. Yeah. Don't read it. You don't need to read it. You just dump it all on the paper. It's out of you. It's on the paper, and throw the book away.
Yeah.
You know, so different techniques like that help.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so
absolutely.
I wonder where I learned that from. Oh.
Oh my gosh, so many things. It's hard to keep track of them.
I know.
All right, we're down to 30 seconds.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Please share this with your friends. Follow the channel and like us, subscribe, leave a good comment, and let me know what you would like to see me talk about on the show. Or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, if you're a local astrologer, or anything to do with mind, body, spirit, if you're a yoga teacher, massage therapist, contact me, and then we'll see if you're a good fit for the show. Thanks. Bye for now.